Kasyap Studios presents Hanapophiwa, the bicycle that kept a village breathing. Welcome to the channel, and let me know where you are watching from. I appreciate your support, so please like and subscribe. This is a wonderful story about community and sharpening at the heart of the Hanapophiwa story. Everyone said the road remembered grandfather Mbewe's footsteps. Long after his back had folded like a closing book, he still rose before the rooster's second cry, tightened the knot on his chuttunj, and greeted the morning with a whisper, "Tayani Hanapophiwa." And the bicycle answered with the softest bell, a silver ting like a wink. Hanapophiwa was not new. Her black frame carried tiny scars of years that had not been gentle, scratches from thorn bushes, dull moons where paint had rubbered away, a front basket woven from reeds and love. She was a she, everyone agreed, stubborn as the old river, patient as rain. If you leaned close, you could smell the road on her, dust and sun and stories. Grandmother Tendo kept time for the house the way a drum keeps time for a dance. When Mbewe returned from the fields, she had warm water ready in a tin basin and a meal that smelled like forgiveness. "First sit," she'd say, "then tell me the road's secrets." He would smile, lean Hanapophiwa against the mango tree, and begin with the words the children loved. Listen with both ears. In the morning, the fields woke up like a choir clearing its throat. Mbewe walked, slow but sure, getting his hoe in neat lines while the sun climbed and the birds wrote poems across the sky. He stopped sometimes to stretch his back, hand pressed to the curve that life had taught him. "This bend," he'd tell us later, patting his spine, "is not a weakness. It is how I learned to bow to the day." By afternoon, after he'd washed away the cling of soil and shared unsummer and relish with Tendo, he would sit beneath the veranda's shade. His fingers, long and careful, moved through bamboo like a prayer. From green sticks he coaxed mats that were cool in the hot season, warm in the cold, and always woven with a pattern he called Path Home. While he worked, we gathered, nieces, nephews, neighbors, children pulled by his voice like fish pulled by a net. His stories had teeth and honey both. Some were meant to frighten just enough to steer us from dark places, rivers at night, strangers with smiling eyes, the quick lies that grow into thorns. Most carried a steady flame. Kindness is a currency, courage wears many shoes, and work done with love becomes a song. When trouble called, Hanapophiwa always answered. Once, the village woke to the sound of a mother's panic. Her child burned with fever, eyes like marbles too hot to hold. Before anyone could finish a prayer, Mbewe had tied a reed mat across Hanapophiwa's rack, lifted the boy with the care you'd give a bird with a broken wing, and pedaled toward the far hospital. The road watched, the dust lifted, and the bicycle flew. Her wheels spoke in a silver blur, the bell chimed before the corners, and the boy's breath slowed to a rhythm that meant stay. Another time, market day softened the village into kulkas, tomatoes like small suns, onions promising tears later, fabrics loud as celebration. Mbewe stacked baskets of cassava and sweet potatoes on Hanapophiwa until we thought she might sulk. But she only settled her shoulders, the way we imagined she had shoulders, and set off, proud as a drum major. She returned lighter, pockets full of coins and gossip, whose goat had learned to open the gate, which schoolteacher had married his shy sweetheart, how the price of salt had climbed a little, but hope had climbed more. When a funeral wind blew slow, heavy, respectful, Hanapophiwa became a herald. Mbewe rode her down footpaths known only to aunt and child, carrying words that were difficult but necessary. He spoke softly at each doorway, eyes lowered, and the bicycle waited with that patient bell in her throat. Grief recognized service and nodded. Even the old well, drilled by hands long gone, knew Hanapophiwa's voice. One dry season the pump coughed like an old man with dust in his lungs and then fell silent. Mothers stood with buckets and worry. Mbewe wiped his brow and tied on his hat. "We will tell those whose job is to listen," he said. The journey to the district office was far and the sun rude, but he rode anyway. He showed the official his palm, calloused proof of a life of doing, and explained, "When water stops, everything else stops too, cooking, growing, singing." The official, young, shirt crisp, looked up at the old man who bowed when he spoke and the black bicycle that shone with use. He signed the paper. The repair truck came 2 days later. The well cleared its throat and sang again. In the evenings, after stories and laughter and the clack of weaving, we would run our fingers over Hanapophiwa's frame, tracing the small moons and stars of her paint, and ask foolish questions. "Do you get tired?" one of us whispered once, laying a cheek against the cool metal. The bell did not ring, but a breeze moved the mango leaves, and it felt like an answer. When the rains came, the road softened. Mbewe's back ached in new places, but he still rose. Tundo warmed the room with pepper soup and a smile that could mend nets. "One day you will rest," she teased gently. "I am resting now," he replied. While moving, he patted Hanapophiwa's seat. "We are two old friends who have agreed not to break." The children who grew on his stories learned to carry them further. We became messengers in our own ways, some by pen, some by song, some with hands that built. When we left for towns or returned from cities with shoes that complained about dust, we still visited the mango tree and the bicycle that had stitched the village together ride by ride. Years later, when Mbewe's steps grew shorter and the afternoons longer, he asked for Hanapophiwa to be brought inside on the days his legs argued with him. He rested a hand on her handlebars as he told stories of narrow escapes and wide kindnesses. The bell, polished smooth by many fingers, chimed when a grandchild laughed too hard. "Listen with both ears," he would begin, and we did. If you go there now, to the house that still smells like warm water and supper, you will find a bamboo mat by the door, a shadow of a man sitting where the breeze is best, and a bicycle that waits without complaint. The village is older and so are we. The well still sings, the road still remembers, and the name Hanapophiwa still means what it always did: strong enough to carry, resilient enough to return, unbreakable enough to be shared, reliable enough to be loved with wheels. When people ask about the bicycle's name, we do not simply translate. We tell the story. We point to the mango tree. We ring the bell. We say, "She held us together." And the wind, which has always been